Hello, listeners. Welcome to our English program podcast, Kaleidoscope. Listeners, our today's episode is an architecture special. It is always said that the roots of a civilization are not limited to a language or culture alone. It is perhaps embedded mostly within the soul of its buildings and architecture. Most of them stand the test of times and show us what exactly was the spirit of the age. This is true whether it is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon or the pyramids to the Eiffel Tower and even the modern architectural marvel Burj Khalifa. In India, especially for architects, there is a rich legacy in both the palaces and the mud huts. There is also inspiration in international architecture, its traditions, and its innovations. Among all these influences, contemporary Indian architects discover a style for contemporary India. Our today's program will focus on master architect Charles Correa. Charles Correa is perhaps one of the most famous architects in modern India. He is known for introducing modern and postmodern architectural marvels. Listeners, for our today's program, we visited Symbiosis Skills and Professional University in Kure and listened to an interesting discussion between two professors of School of Architecture, Aditi Kulkarni and Preeti Pujari, who themselves are architects by profession. In this staff room conversation, they discuss about the influences and major works of master architect Charles Correa. Let us listen to them.
Hello Preeti, how are you?
Hi Aditi, I am good. How are you?
I'm good too. But you seem really excited about something. What is it?
Well, yes. But I'll tell you after you give me a cup of coffee.
Yup, sure. I'll just make it.
Well, do you remember I told you about visiting my husband's office at Tata Technologies in Hinjewadi?
Yes, I remember. So, did you finally go there?
I finally got time to go there. It is one of the most sustainably designed office structures that I've seen so far. And can you guess who is the architect?
Well, no. Who created such a wonderful structure?
It is none other than the master architect Charles Correa.
Oh my god, really? He's one of my favorites.
Wow, same here. And why wouldn't he be the favorite of people like us who are interested in architecture and urban design? After all, he truly is India's most visionary architects and urban planners. His works have certainly defined the landscape of many Indian cities after independence. He has won so many awards for his notable works. He has even been honored by Padma Shri in 1972 and then later with Padma Bhushan in 2006.
Yes, absolutely. Charles Correa is one of the legendary architects of India.
I wonder though, how did he start his journey towards being such a legendary architect?
Well, I did some research on him. Would you like to hear about the initial phase of his career?
Yes, please.
He was born in historic city of Sikandrabad, and it seems that he was always into sketching while growing up. He began his studies at the University of Mumbai's St. Xavier's College before moving on to the Michigan in 1949 and Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge in 1953. There he was mentored by another great architect, Buckminster Fuller. He was there for 2 years and then he came back to India and started his practice in Mumbai. Later on, he also got projects worldwide.
I remember reading that. Even though he was trained in the Western School of Architecture, his roots seem traditionally Indian, which is reflected in his innovative design styles, where modernism was blended so pleasingly with vernacular style. There must be someone who he is inspired by, right?
Yes. He was influenced mainly by the works of architect Le Corbusier and architect Louis Kahn.
Oh, is it? That is why his works are so sensitive towards culture, tradition, climate, and economy. However, if you notice, Korea has never attempted to reproduce the vernacular or traditional architecture component as it is. He is rather took the essence of these ideas and tried to modify them to suit the setting that he is using them into, with his thorough knowledge of cultural values, mythical beliefs, and history.
Yes, I agree. This reflected even in his design philosophy. I remember one of his interviews where he talks about this.
Yes, his structures truly seem a rich blend of these various components. Aditi, as Korea is our favorite, you have to tell me which of Korea's structure is your favorite.
Well, my favorite structure, it must be Jawaharlal Nehru Kendra, situated in Jaipur.
Oh, yeah, that is one of the most impressive structures of Korea. What do you like about it actually?
The project shows his maturity in dealing with critical regionalism. You know, the entire planning of this project was inspired by the streets of Jaipur. He used the concept of mandalas that value the favorable color, quality, and functionality to each planet as per our Indian astrology. The central square is called as the Brahmastan and it is kept open to sky. Mr. Gautam Bhatia explained this concept really well. He said that if you are in a particular planet, you will be disoriented. But then the glimpse of that empty center is what gives you that direction.
Yes, the structure is truly magnificent. I think that Korea's perception of tradition and culture and the reflection of that in his architecture can also be best seen at the macro level as well as at the micro level of the planning. I think the best example of this are the walls of the auditorium in Kala Academy of Goa that are painted with the illusion of an old Goan theatre, or even the amphitheatre which is designed in the Kala Academy, which is inspired by the stepswells of Rajasthan, because these stepswells also served as the communal gathering spaces in historic era. This later became a signature style of Korea that can be seen in many of his projects.
Remember when during our visit to Ahmedabad, we had gone to Gandhi Smarak Sangralaya at Sabarmati Ashram. That is his another masterpiece. That is the place where Mahatma Gandhi stayed from 1917 to 1930. Today, it houses a museum where you can see the history of Indian independence. And Korea's designs have taken it to another level.
Oh, I remember it really well. My visit to Ahmedabad and the visit to Gandhi Smarak Sangralaya, especially the structure that is there, along with the bank of river Sabarmati. He has designed this museum in order to reflect the simplicity of Gandhiji's life and philosophy. This modesty and humanly scaled memorial uses brick piers, stone floors, and tiled roofs to find a contemporary expression for the spirit of Swadeshi. And both open and covered spaces allow for eventual expansion. Just like what we saw in National Crafts Museum, the structure of the museum was designed to display the treasured values of Indian subcontinent and promote culture and heritage. The design was inspired by the great Buddhist and Indian temples of the past. And the museum is arranged so as around the central pathway, revealing a sequence of spaces along with the pedestrian spine.
We can say it is a demonstration of uncompromising execution of an idea as a powerful statement of form. This approach can be found in many of his works, such as Kanchenjunga Apartments, where single overriding concept becomes the major organizing element of the architecture. Correa decided to use the protective veranda. He developed this idea further when he realized that another interesting variation on the principle of the bungalow is to turn the veranda into a buffer zone, that is a garden, which will not only protect the living area from the sun and rain, but it will also thrive on them. So, combining climatic considerations with that of the views of the Arabian Sea, he settled down upon a configuration of interlocking units which faced east and west.
Yes, and let's not forget Korea's vision for low cost housing. Korea spent a large part of his career finding innovative ways to build an affordable housing, and Korea hoped to be able to reduce the inequality between the people who have and the ones who don't have. That is, between the ones who are staying at a very low cost housing and the ones who stay in a middle class house. Now, in this densely populated urban centers, by building a new township, like the one which we see in Navi Mumbai, and he also wished to construct spaces that afforded dignity and privacy while encouraging a spirit of collaboration and community for the people who didn't have all these. Now, his genuine wish was that for such low cost housing blocks in Belapur, Correa used locally available material like bricks, plasters, stone blocks to create freestanding houses that could be modified by residents according to their needs. At the same time, the houses needed to open into a shared courtyard to facilitate the feeling of community.
Yes, Correa's work was never meant only for the eminent people in the world, but he believed in equity, and he showed it in his work. Have you read The New Landscape by Charles Correa?
No, I have not. What does it talk about?
Well, the book surely indicates that Correa's heart was in city planning. In this book, he establishes the 4 different types of spaces that cater to human beings. And room is just one of them. A person also needs a transition space to commute the environment, neighborhood level spaces that form community, and city level spaces like a Maidan.
Absolutely. We all need such spaces in our life, don't we? I think his understanding of human beings and their relationship with the spaces come from his critical observation of urbanization process in the third world countries and living conditions in cities due to migration from rural area. He proposed that the congested cities like Mumbai and Kolkata spaces can actually become a resource, and the contemporary Indian cities can become great cities but terrible places. He explained this state of euphoria with an interesting example. He says, if there is a frog that is dropped into a pan of very hot water, it will desperately try to hop out of the place. And if the frog is placed in a tepid water, then it will gradually rise the temperature. The frog will swim around happily, adjusting to the increasing dangerous condition. Even though the water is extremely hot, the frog relaxes and dies in a state of euphoria. Maybe this is what is happening to us in Mumbai. We are all so immersed in the mythical qualities of so-called Sapno Ki Nagari that we don't see what's happening in reality physically.
But Correa saw it long back. In 1964, he, along with his 2 colleagues, had proposed the restructuring plan for Bombay. He established the need for New Bombay with theory of 3 magnets. This proposal was subsequently accepted by the government. So in 1970, 55,000 acres of land was set aside for acquisition, and CIDCO was set up to design and develop the city of New Bombay across the harbour. In its initial stages, Correa acted as chief architect in honorary capacity. Later, he was also the chairman of the housing board in Mumbai.
Oh, I did not know that he is the one who proposed the planning for New Bombay. That is really some achievement. But definitely, this is not the only one, I suppose. I've also heard of his proposal for the defunct mills of Mumbai. Hence, the state government set up a study group to prepare an integrated plan for textile mills in Girgaon. He was also the chairman for the group as well. They identified the mill workers as one of the key stakeholders for this redevelopment project, along with the mill owners and the citizens of Mumbai. Therefore, the strategy for land use division was adopted by the study group, which recommended that there has to be 7 million sites for public housing to be developed by the MADA, 1/3 of it, that is 4 million sites, and proportion of the 4 sites for the open spaces and public amenities, and the last third for the development by NTC. Now, the study group believed that with this methodology, instead of meaningless hodgepodge development, large and viable places of land can be made available for each of the 3 land uses specified. And in this pattern, it made sure that overall urban sense of the city was made.
Oh, you mean there is a equity of land for all the three groups like mill workers, mill owners, as well as the citizens of Mumbai, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Correa is remembered today for his distinctive and bold approach to design that embraces both the global and the vernacular. During a career spanning of 6 decades, from the late 1950s up until 2010s, he designed over 100 buildings, from museums to malls, luxury apartments to spiritual enclaves, research centers to low cost housing complexes. He was honored with Royal Gold Medal in 1984 for architecture by Royal Institute of British Architects, and he also won 7th Aga Khan Award for Architecture for Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly in 1998.
Oh, I so wish that I could meet him and learn from him. He passed away on 16th June 2015, but he will always remain as an inspiration for all the architects around the world. Now I see how the legend architects like Charles Correa can make such difference in the lives of people.
Hey, but what happened to your coffee?
You were supposed to give, right?
Well, listeners, that was architect Aditi Kulkarni and architect Preeti Pujari, who happened to have a staff room conversation on the life, influences, and major works of master architect Charles Correa. Hope you enjoyed listening to them. We will be back with another interesting program in this series, Master Architects of India. Until then, thanks for listening and please stay tuned as our next program follows.